Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Trav's Told You. I am your host, Trav Snell, as usual. It's been a nice little hiatus. My eyes feel like they're about to pop out of their head. Been a nice little hiatus. 3 weeks. You can go back and, you should get ready. I should have tweeted out. I'll tweet out tomorrow. We've done every single episodes of Rebel. That's what I was taking my little break on and stuff. So obviously there's a lot to balance with. Usually Trav's Told You like an extra cast. So doing Rebels, that is tough. So it took a 3-week break. There's a couple times I wanted to, but just didn't have time. And as we talked about, if you're a patron, some behind the scenes as far as still doing Trav's Told You, definitely the end of the year. And then after next year, we'll kind of see, because we're very busy right now. We got lots of casts coming up. We got lots of stuff soon. And just life stuff, lots of birthdays coming up as well. Kids get back to dance, soccer, 2 dances. It's filling up big time. But so my life's getting busy. We're getting busy. Excuse me. We just had our meeting last night, which was very fun. It was it sounds maybe ambitious, but it was myself, Kirkland, and Taylor. Dylan was traveling, but we were planning out what we're going to be doing for the next few years, filming wise. So we don't plan on stopping, and we actually got to watch the assembly cut of that's me blanking it out. I don't want to reveal tell yet. All good things will come. Lots of good things will come. That's why I joined Patreon, because you'll get the news first, and I think we're pretty narrowed down on a plan that maybe you'll get to see it sooner than we thought. But that was lots of fun. It was about 2 hours stuff. We talked about just ideas we want to do, things, and then I showed them the cut, and they both seemed to like it, unless they're lying to me. But we had a lot of good laughs, so it was fun to watch that. But right now, that's the assembly cut. I got all the there's a few edits I want to do, and there's like a couple reshoots, so technically it's kind of a cheat, because assembly cuts usually when you have everything, but still, we like the stuff we have to add is just like little touch-ups or like little continuity errors where okay, we can fix that. So that's what we'll be doing this go around. And adding lots of sound and stuff, so that'll be good. And then some score. So we're, like I said, we're near on the first one there and everything, so it's gonna be a good time. So that was lots of fun. Head over to the feed, lots of good stuff going on. Like I said, you can check out all the Rebels episodes. Next few days, me and Dylan will be breaking down Gamescom tomorrow. I should announce it, but that's gonna be at 4 p.m. PST, because I gotta do that. And then right after, I'm gonna be watching Ahsoka, which we haven't talked about even on the news yet, that they've moved that to like a 6 p.m. PST streaming. That's great. So we're gonna get to do right after live reactions. We'll watch both episodes, and we'll be live on YouTube right after. If you're catching it on the podcast, be on the morning feeds or the midnight, whenever it will drop, or when we'll have it edited. And then newscast. So in the next few weeks, I guess there will be some reviews. They're more small reviews, like the creators coming out and Saw, but we're almost through. I guess we are through the big season till November. We got Ahsoka, got Loki, and I think we got The Boys as well, maybe Invincible. So there's some stuff popping up. So if you like what we do, head over and support us. We really appreciate it, especially in these upcoming months. It's like, we're hurting, but it's like there's not going to be as many big casts as far as like the big, earners that push the content. That's how everyone asks. How do you help us? Patreon's the biggest one. If not, you can just subscribe, like a video, share it. The more people that watch, the more people download, the more impressions we get, the more we can create other shows like Trash Told You, like Side Quest. Each and every one of you support that. So big thank you, everyone. So Macho Madness says, yes, sir. Yeah, I think I found a hole somewhere in it. Yeah, I have a Dolph Ziggler one. There's a couple tank tops that are nearing their end, but they're good, like PJ tank tops and stuff. So, S-Bubs, I was just watching Blade for the first time since its 25th anniversary. Very great so far. Horror action is the best genre. That's tough. I don't know what I'd say. Like, I've never broken it down like that, because I just always go, my genres like horror. My tie is always like horror and superhero stuff. Superhero I take with me because my kid and stuff. So like, not my kid, but like when I was a kid. So if you take that out of there, it's just been horror. But what's like my specific type of horror? That's a good one. I'd have to think about. I should probably ask the GeekVerse crew that. Maybe I'll say that for like an originals or bread and butter. And that's why for the live people, this is earlier. We were supposed to be doing the originals for Patreon, which we will be doing later on. I think might be next week. We're going to be doing that. And then I guess Taylor's car died. So he's like, I'm not making it. So that's why this show's an hour early. But thank you for support. And everything you need to know is down below. Thank you always for listening. So let's get into it, because I haven't done Trash Told You in a little bit. So let's go over some of these topics. Let's just start with something that's like, I don't want to say a victory lap, So let's see, what was this? Leatherface, or sorry, I suppose it's also, what was that Leatherface wrestling thing? I saw you tweet something about that. Leatherface wrestling thing or resting thing? Or did you say wrestling? Confirm, because I need to know, what did I tweet about? Oh man, I don't know what I tweeted about now. You confirm, and then I'll get back into it. S Bubs, man, share. Thank you very much. But yeah, not a victory lap because I don't want it to happen. Again, talking about the genres, right? I've always seen. Oh, that's what it was. Okay, so quickly, side note, because I haven't done much. Tress told you I might next week because there's a big wrestling event, so I'll probably bring some wrestling back then. There was a match. So to break it down, quick 5-minute tangent. People can skip forward if they don't like it. There's this thing SBubs called a death match in wrestling, and again, of course, wrestling's scripted and everything like that. But these are things that legitimately, they take like light bulb, like those light strings, and they'll smash them over each other. Thumbtacks, like there's real things that happen. Glass, like they do these things, right? So the game was coming out, and they partnered with AEW to do a Texas Chainsaw Massacre death match, and everyone was really excited because like, oh, brutal type of wrestling with like a chainsaw, like Texas Chainsaw, that'd be fun. No. Terrible thing. It was just really cheesy. They were hitting on like the southern things. They went backstage and just had a lot of red lights. They had like fake blood. It's always fake blood, but wrestlers do bleed in real life. And then at the end, some wrestler came out. Not even like they didn't even reveal who it was. Just someone came out as Leatherface to interfere in the match. And you just go, man, I'm not a big fan of. I can take comedy wrestling. It's that type of wrestling. It just looks dumb when you have like Leatherface chasing your wrestlers with a chainsaw. So that's what it was. But why I take it back a little, because I think it's the worst thing that show done. They made $100,000 off it, and all those proceeds went to the fires in Maui. So it's like one of these things. Okay, it was dumb, but you know what? It was for a good cause. They didn't keep any of the money. Check out the game. I'm not sure if me and Teo stream, but that's tons of fun. If you're a Massacre fan, definitely check it out. So yeah, that's what that was, S-Bub. So I don't think you'll ever get into wrestling, but if you were, I would not start you there. That's definitely a low point for that company. But you know what? The biggest paid show in wrestling history is happening next week, and that's the same company. So much like superhero genres, there's highs and lows, and that's why to transition into Blue Beetle. So yeah, I don't like doing the victory lap because I'm not all the time right, and I don't want this. I like doing the superhero genre. I know everybody was mad, or not everybody, tons of people like, oh man, the top 5, always superhero movies, always these type of movies. When are we gonna get real cinema? Not me. I'm somebody that, like, the movies I love don't need to make money. Like Blade Runner 2049. Yeah, it sucks that it bombed, but I still love it. That could be my second favorite movie of the year, just because it's not top 10 doesn't do anything. And most of the time when those one-offs do, like, I don't want them to do poorly, but something like Oppenheimer, right? It's fantastic. It's doing so well. Broke 700 million. But at the end of the day, if it does poorly, maybe Nolan does get less opportunity, so maybe take that back. But it's not like it's setting up a sequel or franchise, right? The reason I always cheered for the superhero stuff was like, okay, if Marvel and DC do well, we get more of this character, more of this genre. When they start to do poorly, that's when studios walk it back and go, is this a genre for us anymore, right? So that's why I'm always cheering for them. But so I want Blue Beetle to do great. I wanted to do great. I liked it enough. You check out our review. Taylor loved it, so it's a fun review. I have some qualms there, but overall I enjoyed it. Our Discord's been kind of more mixed than I thought it would be, but I thought it was, as I've said before, a better than above average superhero film that I probably won't return much to. You know, I don't have like Sam's theater where apparently 7 people walked out in the theater, but my theater was also dead silent, and that where it kind of comes into this box office. So I don't want them to do poorly, but other than 3 movies this year, because I said this before, after COVID, I had no fucking clue about box office. I feel like I used to be so good on predictions on point. After COVID, it was all over. This year, I got my mojo back. I was killing it. Boom, boom, boom. Oppenheimer, I'll say I was wrong about, because nowhere did I think it'd be that. And I thought it was going to be like that 30 million opening weekend. I thought, yeah, that's fine. Like a bomb movie in summer. That makes about like a drama radar movie. Yeah, that makes sense. That blew up. So that was one I was wrong about. Spider-Verse, I was wrong about. I thought it would be successful, but not to that level, not to like doubling the last one, right? And then what was the other? Oh, Flash. But all of us, I think, were wrong about the Flash, right? I didn't see many people being like, it's gonna bomb. If they said that, I think they're kind of making it up. So there's 3, but for the most part, I've been pretty good on, things. Ant-Man Quantumania, I think. I can't remember where I was, but I think after I saw the movie, I was like, the drop's going to be really bad. So with Blue Beetle, I've been saying for a while that it was going to be like Shazam sort of opening weekend numbers. And it was. Actually, it was less, so I was wrong. I said it was going to make 31 opening million and it ended up making 25. So you can't say it is a bomb yet, because look at Elemental. Elemental came out, was it Pixar? Pixar, Disney, whoever it is, lowest studio opening for that film. It has now grossed over 450 million, could get to 500 million. It's internationally crazy number, internationally bigger than Spider-Verse. I would have never thought that. That's crazy. I watched it this week. Cute little movie. I like the world building in it. The water guy annoyed the shit out of me, but very fun, some good messaging. It's a movie that I'll happily watch again. Same thing with Blue Beetle. I go, I'll watch it again at some point, but I'm not in a rush. Elemental, I would watch it again. And that shows that was the word of mouth. One, I also don't think there was too many kids movies. Mario it was a perfect time where Mario was going away and then Elemental took over. There's not many out there this summer. And I guess you could say the same about Blue Beetle, that there hasn't been one since The Flash, right? But still the genre's in a wave. And even Pixar and animation, right? It's in a weird wave. So we don't know. Maybe Blue Beetle has a great second week. Maybe it does have legs. We're past the box office season. But I just don't think so, because I feel like there's enough people that I've seen just in my life that go, it's okay. I don't think I've seen enough. I feel like I saw more people praise and recommend The Flash than I have Blue Beetle. And that's because it's just Blue Beetle. Now, I will say that people that dislike The Flash, I think were really much harder on it, where Blue Beetle's more in the middle. But I think Blue Beetle just looks like it's a generic, here you go, whatever. Antonio Baker, hell no to Krasinski as Batman. We'll get there. And yes, hello, Andrew. Hope you're doing well tonight. So I didn't think it was going to do that well, and it really didn't. I consider it still, now it says Blue Beetle, the title here, right? Before someone calls me on it. Blue Beetle has lowest DC opening. Technically, it's not true. Technically, it's Wonder Woman, but I don't count that. I know some might be like, you have to, it's technical. I know, but those circumstances are all over the place. That was literally the worst of COVID. Things locked down. Theaters not even open. HBO Max, which, a lot of people just fucking I didn't pay for it, not because the person paid for it, but I had to use someone's Max. Tons of people watched that movie that couldn't pay for it, didn't, because in Canada it was just like, you can't watch Wonder Woman. And I was like, oh, cool. So we figured it out as a podcast, and thank you to somebody that used to be on the podcast network for that. But so take that one out. It's the lowest. And I still thought it was going to beat Shazam, especially because there was good word of buzz. It had like an 85, 86 on Rotten Tomatoes for a while. I think it's dipped below that, but I didn't think it was going to get much higher, and it didn't. That's not a great weekend. And then the other thing is, and what Sam's saying here, Blue Beetle not out in Australia until mid-September. For international figures context, not sure about China or UK. Yeah, I don't know about those either. But it's tough now, where I feel like the market now, especially in China, we've seen if a movie gets really delayed, it doesn't do that well because there's bootlegs and stuff. And Antonio Baker says 43 million opening weekend. It'll make its budget back. It'll make its it'll make its production budget back, but the marketing, like today with Flash, right? At first, which we all knew this was a lie, it was coming out like, oh, the final total budget was like 175, like something like that, right? And now today it came out like, actually it ended up being more like 300 million before marketing. Now that's because COVID and reshoots. Blue Beetle, that's what you never know about movies, right? Where you go, okay, it was originally 70, 80, and then we heard 104, and that's not marketing. So will it make its production budget the 104 million? Yeah, I agree with you, Antonio. It'll make it there. I just don't think make a profit, because that 18 million overseas, real rough, especially the markets. Now I know there was like some storm or something, but I've heard so many people, and I get the sentiment, I do, but so many people, even when I was talking about some Vodka stream this week, I was on just like, oh, the international markets, you got Brazil and you got Mexico. Doesn't always mean anything. I remember, like I said, what was the two comparisons I made? I can't remember the other one, but the biggest one to me that was like the lights on, I guess the Batman, right? When that went to China, everyone's like, oh, it's $1 billion, even myself. And it did like fine there, right? And the same thing like Crazy Rich Asians. That was opening in China, opened here and opened China. Everyone's like, man, this movie's gonna be fucking massive. People love it here. It has China, Asians in the title. Let's see what it does. It did not make much money there. And that's because, it might not be a big film industry, but countries do have their own film. And that's where it's like a superhero thing, maybe not, but it might just be this thing where it doesn't appeal to them. I think with Black Panther, it's the same as Shang-Chi. I think it would have done well, but not Black Panther numbers. Black Panther just came at a very special time. It also came at the height of the MCU. And I also think that the reason that there is cultural relevance in Blue Beetle, but the movie's not about race. In my opinion, they definitely, of course, they have a lot of allegories for it, especially like the home invasion scene. I get that, but Black Panther, the literal villain's plot has to do with race and being oppressed and all those things, right? So that's where it's a little bit different. I think it was a really like get behind where that's where Black Panther 2 doesn't really have that. It has that a little bit with what's his name there? God, Namor, but it's very similar to the first one. So let's see. Yes, it was rough. They needed Brazil this past week. And yeah, and that's where I just don't think it's gonna make that money back. And now, like, so Shazam, I don't know. We're not out of that ballpark. I still say it's going to make more than Shazam. I had my marker on around like 212, 210. Shazam ended up about 133. There's definitely a huge possibility this does not crack 200 million. And that's really, really, it's not good. And it's one of these things where I think it's just there is too much. It is oversaturation of the market, yes, and that has to do with too many superhero films or too many films looking similar. It has to do with, to me, just the trailers and marketing. It looked generic. I just remember that when I was talking the whole, and Tay ended up reviewing with me, but when we got that first trailer, the whole time like, oh, I think you guys are going to really like Blue Beetle. I think this will be fun. When we got that first trailer, all three of them were out. Taylor came around, he was on the review, but like, and he ended up loving it. So you never know, right? But the actual trailer, I remember them being all like, yeah, this is, I don't need to watch this. You know, I have no reason to. It's not part of a universe, and it doesn't look anything special. And I think a lot of people, even real life people I talked to, like I remember that was the same week something would happen with my mom, and we saw the trailer, something. Maybe we saw a movie together. And said, "Oh, would you see that one?" Because she's more picky with comic movies now. Like, no, I won't see that one. And that's where it just like I feel like that trailer actually turned people off because it just looked like another hero. And then there is the DC argument. We don't got to go over that again. And I'm going to bring that up in a second because I'm going to go down and look at all the superhero movies that are coming out that we know of, because there was a staggering tweet I saw the other day where people talk about MCU having troubles. Sure. But like their troubles are like just like underwhelming. DC, compare that, it's fucking bonkers. And that's where it is a brand thing. I don't care what people say. Not all, of course, all GA know what DC is, but it's something about the brand, something about what they're putting out. Whatever it is, the brand is not, you know, people are not interested in these superheroes right now, you know. And maybe, you know, it's fine. It doesn't mess with the topic I'm going to do next. Let me talk about, where was this tweet here? Okay, so these are the last, and this is just DCU. So didn't count Batman, because that is the argument, right? Where Batman and Joker, that's the thing where, okay, if DC fails, you can always go back to those popular characters, which I believe. I think Batman and Joker, because people say, well, DC doesn't have a problem. Look at Batman and Joker. Yeah, to me, the two most popular DC characters of all time. Sorry, Superman. I think Superman was, but I think he's taken some hits over the years. We'll see with Legacy. But Joker has risen. Like, there's no $1 billion Superman movie, but there's a $1 billion radar Joker movie. So I think they're the most popular DC characters, and that's the thing where take those two out of it because they are the most popular. And just before we talk about this topic here, Superman Mike says, you think Batgirl would have done better than Blue Beetle if the roles had been reversed? I do. I think it would have been better than Blue Beetle. I know, Antonio, you're saying no. I think it would have made more money. I do. I think Batgirl, there's a bit more brand recognition now. But at the end of the day, yeah, Flash was a bomb and didn't do well, but it's still open to 60 million. I think that Batgirl would beat Shazam for sure. It'd be more in the Flash, Black Adam territory where I could see like before, especially now if Flash didn't work out well. Before I would have said like a, 60 to 90. Now I'd say like a 45 to 65. But I think it would have beat Shazam. I think it would have beat Black Adam. I think you have, especially if they would have played their card right. Not especially, it's not a big deal, right? But just like Brendan Fraser coming off an Oscar win, Academy Award winner from the team that brought you Miss Marvel if they wanted to do that. Batgirl's an Amen Keaton. So I think, yes, it would have done better than Blue Beetle, absolutely. If you put the gun to my head, no, 100%. It would do way better than that. So the movies here. These are the DCU versus the MCU opening weekends. Because, of course, Ant-Man, big drop. So it doesn't tell the whole story, but still, these are the things. So DC, Blue Beetle, 25.4 million. The Flash, 55. Oh, fucking Flash, man. Shazam, 2, 30.5. And then Black Adam, 67. Now, I agree. The MCU has some struggles right now. Phase 5 is easily, even with 3 projects, they're weakest, I think, with Ant-Man and Secret Invasion back-to-back. They're taking some hits. I still think they can recover. You know, who knows? There's all these reboot talks. Maybe they'll reboot, maybe they won't. I think there is some warrant to. I'm open to the idea now, but let's see the rest of the phase, and let's see with Iger back and everything like that. So again, for DC, 25, 55, 30, 67. MCU opening weekends, the struggling brand, the brand that's in trouble. Guardians, 118. Quantumania, 104. Wakanda Forever, 180. And Thor, Love and Thunder, 143. So that's why anytime in the future people talk to me that Marvel and DC are both in trouble, maybe you can make a case about the whole genre, sure, but they're in completely different parks. DC's fucking on life support right now, barring the Batman brand. And even The Flash had Batman, Michael Keaton in it. It's on fucking life support right now. MCU is what I compare it the best way. They're in a boxing match and they got punched, they fell on the ground, but they got back up. They've never really fell on the ground. They fell on the ground a couple times here, but they're still in the fight and they're probably still winning the fight. And not saying against Marvel DC, I'm just saying in general. Same thing as last year, like Doctor Strange almost made $1 billion. Wakanda Forever, of course, lower, but still 800 million. Like they're still in the top 5. They're still doing well. Thor, Love and Thunder, we'll get to in a second. That was like what in the top 5 most profitable movies last year. It's like Marvel had, like, really, when you put in perspective, it's more the expectations. We talked about this all the podcast, right? Where we talked about this on the 8 year, where it is tough. Where I don't think it was last year before, one of the years we talked about this. I can't remember. I think it was 2021. Either way, it was like we talked about this before. We're like for 13 months in a row, we had our biggest month, right? Every month was breaking record, and then it'd be like, oh, a couple months of break, and then another record broken, and then we haven't done that since I can't remember. I'd have to look at last year when it was. Was it the Batman or no? It was July with the big Comic-Con, right? With the phase and everything rolling out. Last July 2022 is our biggest year, and we haven't broken that record, which is fine because we had that and other things coming out. But it is tough when that happens, right? Because you feel a little defeated, but then I always try to go and look at perspective where I go, okay, it's not the biggest year, but we're still doing well. We're still luckily listened to like thousands of people. We're still charting Apple all the time. That's the MCU where it's like, okay, you're not hitting the highs that you were before. You've definitely fallen down a peg, but it's recoverable and you're not completely dead in the water. Where DC, that's where it is, and that's where I think Blue Beetle, unfortunately, is. I think it's going to have a big drop next weekend. Gran Turismo will probably beat it, or Barbie might, right? We had that times where Top Gun would get beat and then it would climb back up, because when I saw Blue Beetle, people were still dressed in pink and 2 Barbie showings were sold out. It's this thing where, Barbie mania, that's a thing. So Blue Beetle, I just don't think it really had a chance for the brand. Superhero genres kind of, having some rough go right now. And then just the trailer and marketing. And I don't think with that movie, it's not like when I see a movie, I go, oh shit, that marketing really screwed up. No, I think it's that you can only market this movie a certain type of way. And as we've talked about before, 2016, even if you want to say 2015, maybe 2015 to 2019, the golden era of comic movie box office, where for the most part, every once in a while, Fan Four stick, a Dark Phoenix, but most of the time you're putting out movies and they're hitting. It's more rare that you have a comic book bomb than it is a success. You have multiple billion-dollar films a year. I know it's overall, but like Disney having like 2019 having like $9 billion movies in the top 10. Like that was the era. So and look at Shazam. To me, that's the comparison. Shazam 1, which I think was, better than the first, has a better word of mouth. But that's rocking like what, a 400 million somewhere in there, and then the second one's 133. So I think you can see if you're not water cooler, or you're not a super iconic brand like a Batman, Joker, or like if they said, hey, Iron Man's back and Downey's back, then that's going to make a bunch of money. If you're not iconic and you're not something special of the norm, and that's why I think like Joker 2 will still do well. I'm going to talk about here in a second, because it's going to be unique and people go, oh, I really want to see that. That looks interesting, which I think is not a bad thing for the genre, to walk it back and not make just churn out stuff. You got to be creative. You got to be inventive to get people out. But I'm saying if Blue Beetle comes out in that 2015 to 2019 era, I think it makes a lot more money, and that's where it's like since Aquaman, I've seen the stat where also same thing, the DCEU has not had a film that's gone over $500 million since Aquaman. That's nuts. That's 2018. It's a long, long time. Let's see. Apparently the 20th and 30th Apparently the Jurassic Park 30th anniversary release has better pre-sales than Blue Beetle. I could believe that because I think next week it's gonna like be Shazam where people said maybe there's legs and it didn't. It dropped like 13 million. Superman Mike says Marvel's only looking bad compared how well they did in 2019, which is an all-time high. Exactly, right, Superman Mike, and that's tough. Where not that we should expect it, but we did get that right from like 20. I'll say not maybe 16, but even then 2018 to 2019. You're getting Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Infinity War, even Ant-Man's doing well, Endgame's the first Spider-Man movie to ever hit $1 billion. It's slaying it billion after billion after billion. So that's that thing where you're exactly right. In comparison, I would love to look at the numbers, and it's always tough, right? Because maybe take out the COVID year. I'd love to look at the numbers compared to like a phase 2, like compare phase 4 to phase 2 or 1, because I feel like they're probably pretty comparable. There's the COVID year, right? And that sinks a lot of the numbers. So that's why I would take that out, but then it's tough. Would you take that out? Because you got No Way Home. So maybe I should do that as like I won't do it live on air. Don't want to do math, but let's see. They need to stop making Thor and Ant-Man movies. Why? Why would they stop making those movies, Antonio? Ant-Man, maybe, sure, but like, we're gonna talk about it here in a second. Well, maybe we can just transition to because I think I'm probably done with Blue Beetle. We'll go there. We'll go with Thor 5 first because Antonio, I'll nicely disagree and say you're absolutely wrong because that to me is like a pure that's business genocide if you're doing that sort of stuff. Guardians 3 was right in the ballpark of Guardians 2. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I've seen people use that excuse or use that example of like, well, it was lower than the second one. That's still pretty. It's only $18 million lower in a post-COVID world, in a post like all the streaming blow up, all these things. No, that's to me a big win, especially after Ant-Man. That to me is a big win. Guardian just being 18 lower than the other one. So no, I think that's. Of course, you want sequels to do better, but I think they'd rather take that than the other drop. So let's see. If they stop making Ant-Man movies, Blue Beetle wouldn't have a brew. But oh snap! Let's take our first ad break, and then we will talk about Thor 5, and just that'll transition us into other box office. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So Antonio, I'm not trying to pick on you, but my point is, where Quantumania, sure, you can make a case for Ant-Man. They've hit their trilogy anyways, fine. Oh, sorry, I got something in the throat. It always happens when I'm alone. Maybe it doesn't happen when I'm just alone. I can like go away. It's just because it's like humid out and we're not turning the AC on because like we have smoke. If you don't know, look up Kelowna, BC fires. It's a fucking mess here. But so anyways, Thor 5. There's rumors. It came from this thing where it's like a Thor official artwork, and I've not looked into it because I have been busy. So forgive me, but it was this thing where there was a quote from Taika of like, oh, like something about Thor 5, and if we make a sequel, it has to be a villain more powerful than Hela, which is disappointing because one, I think Gore was, I guess I don't know if Gore was there or not, but I thought I read it. I'm like, oh, I fastly read it. And I'm like, oh, Hela's coming back? No. Hela to me, I really want to come back because they really, I think, dropped the ball with that character. I think at least Gore the God Butcher had multiple scenes I could point out that Bale killed it in, and I like that villain. I think he still did a great job. I think the movie, it's tough because like this, all the screen times he's like, I think he works well in that story. I think you could give him more, but I don't want to compare it to Ledger's Joker. It's not that level, but just the same way as like Ledger's Joker is not in the Dark Knight that much. So I think that stuff's all done well. I think it's just people think that he has to be in it more, or maybe because they liked him more, they need more of him in it. But anyways, saying that, and that's where people said like, well, it's not really a Thor 5 rumor. It's just him saying like, I think the quote was more like, oh, if we did that, he'd have to. But people took this as like, Taika's saying they're making Thor 5 and the villain will be more powerful than ever. So I'll get to the villain, the Taika stuff, all the Thor stuff anyways. There's another example, and this is where Antonio, like I said, I'm not trying to pick you, but this is where I feel like people just, they go with what were in our Twitter bubbles, and they go with the same thing of, oh, hey, it did less than the last one, which it did, which some markets I think it didn't open up in. But the thing is, domestically, it did better. And when I looked at it, right, when you're in this landscape where you have movies like Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible losing money, you're going with surefire things. And that's where I've talked with a couple Twitter users of like, followers. I'm not just looking for random people, of just, if something like Captain Marvel, which we'll talk about in a second, does poorly, and some other ones do poorly, like Blue Beetle, like Ant-Man, you will see studios start to go back to those. Okay, these are the dependable heroes. Thor is one of those. And you might not think that, but if you look at the post-COVID world, which for COVID, streaming, all this stuff, right? Faster VOD releases, all these things, it's harder to guarantee a hit. MCU proper, not counting No Way Home because that's Sony MCU. MCU proper is not a $1 billion movie. So I think it's the third. So taking out Spider-Man, Thor: Love and Thunder is the third biggest MCU movie. And then if you look at since 2019 or since COVID, so 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. 2020 doesn't really count because there wasn't much out, right? But still, in a 4-year span, it is 6 as far as the biggest comic book movies. It's like 700 and something million, right? It's the 6th biggest one. How many have we got? I think this year there's like alone how many movies we got between Shazam and Flash and Aquaman's coming up and Guardians and Ant-Man. It's the 6th biggest one. It was only, I think, like 13 million below the Batman. So let's say Thor has a little bit better of a drop. It's number 5. Thor people, and that's what I didn't understand. I completely get because no one asked for Thor 5, which is a lie. There's tons of people that like the Taika stuff. There's tons of people in the GA. That's why these movies have done better than the other two, because they like this type of Thor. It's a fucking known fact. People just live in their Twitter bubbles. So it's like, no one asked that. 1, that's wrong. People are asking for it. People like this type of Thor. 2, why would they do this? Well, you could say, why do they have to bring Taika back? Why would they do this style? But the whole who asked for this and why are they making it? It's the most like kind of, not trying to be, mean, but like a kind of brain dead thinking of, if you're talking purely as what you want and a fan, sure. But when they say like, why no one asked for this, why would they make this? Or the last one's so bad, why would they make it? 1, it was still reviewed well critically, audience scores are still, fine. Cinema score, I think, was, not the greatest, but it on par with like Blue Beetle and stuff. So it's this thing of people talk about, go see Blue Beetle because that's a so much better movie than Thor: Love and Thunder. Who'd want a Thor 5? I don't know. If you have your 3rd biggest MCU movie, the 6th biggest comic book movie, just a shy under the Batman, the most popular character of all time, you're going to keep making those fucking movies, Whether you want them or not, then don't go see them. Guess what? If you don't go see them, they won't make them. If you go, I don't want to, this is the thing. People, they'll complain, and I'm going to, I do this, right? And I should, but I have a podcast, so I have to do it, and I write this stuff up. But it's like the Venom Sonyverse, right? I know every time I buy a ticket, I'm keeping this universe alive. I should not do it, but I go, maybe it'll be different this time. And the only difference, though, is different films, different directors, different projects. If Taika makes Thor 5 and you hated Thor 3 and 4, especially Thor 4, you didn't like it, and you don't have a podcast and you don't have to review these things, why are you seeing these? Why do you care? Like, why do you have to, just because you have to be in the conversation, see when it's on Disney Plus for free in a couple months? Like, so that's why if you don't like it, you don't see it. Because guess what? If Thor 5, the same as Quantumania, when they do that, and if it disappointed, it goes, okay, we're probably not going to do an Ant-Man 4. If Thor 5, which I think would be the last one anyways, I think you'd do that and then Avengers and send him off. But even, let's say it like has a big stumble, they're not going to do another Thor. But right now with those numbers, absolutely. Like it being the 6th biggest comic book movie since post-COVID, why wouldn't they do that? As a company, as a business that's just trying to make money in a world where Disney's had one of its worst couple years ever, fucking Indiana Jones bombing, Ant-Man Quantumania not doing well, all like some of the animated stuff not doing well, fucking Lightyear bombed. They're gonna go with the surefire hit. So that's where I don't understand. Your preference, great, that's fine. Fuck, you can say whatever you want about Taika Waititi. I don't really care. I don't love those movies. They're like middle of the road MCU movies for me. But that's the thing where I just like, it's like, don't you get it? Like it's the same thing of like, I do not like the Venom movies, but when Venom 2 made what it did and had like the biggest opening of the weekend until Spider-Man, I'm like, well, yeah, you got to make Venom 3. I don't like it. I don't want to see more of that, but that's where the business is, So it just doesn't make sense to me what people think. Superman Mike says, what Marvel desperately needs is a team-up movie to kick things into gear again. If the Avengers disappoints, then we have problems. I agree. It'd be interesting to see what the bar for the Avengers would be because so what? I think it could be hit $1 billion, right? Because you have Doctor Strange at 900 and then Black Panther at like 8 something. So I think it would hit $1 billion. I agree, Mike. We've talked about that before. We'll probably do a bigger conversation, and I'm probably repeating myself for others. As far as I think the lack of Avengers has hurt Phase 4 and Phase 5. I think the first half of Phase 4, no, I think that was fine to do. Other projects, other world stuff. But for this big team and for the big new Captain America, it's like, hey, you should have answered this by now. The fact that we still don't know we're in phase 5, and I think they looked at it as like, oh, it's a fun mystery. But I think now it's like phase 1 happened and still was at the end, but we knew who our Avengers were going to be. We still don't know. It's just rumored cast lists, right? So for me, it's this thing of, hey, like, get it. Just, and I've said before, now that Avengers should be like smaller, because you had Loki, you had Ultron. Those are still big world-ending events where they should happen, but go up against a villain like a Loki or Ultron where it is a one and done, or like a one they move on. Not a. I do think jumping into another two-parter, which Infinity War and Endgame were, right? Kang to Secret Wars. I think that was a mistake. I think we should have got a film much earlier, establish a new team, establish a relationship, get us excited, because then people, it's just willy-nilly, and then some people do start to miss the original Avengers. So it's like, oh, we have no Avengers, and there's Avengers movie coming up. I'm not that excited. If you do a movie and at least it's good, you get people excited, like, oh, there's these characters I love this new team, can't wait to see their new Avenger, you know? And I know they want to be like all new and everything. I still think it's a mistake when I hear these roster lineups of like no Bruce or no Thor. Like, that was the whole appeal of the new Avengers. It was fun to have like, hey, Cap and Iron Man are still there, but Wolverine's on the team and Luke Cage is on the team. And Spider-Man's like, oh, this is fucking cool. Like, new class, old class. The idea of like, oh, everyone's gone. I don't know. So I've had problems with how, I love Feige, but I've definitely had problems with how they've handled the Avengers IP since then. The flip side is, and I know what they're trying to go for, is the longer you wait, you build up that anticipation, which I was for, but I think now it's been too long. And the idea that's a two-parter, and I do get it. I think I always said you could wait, but now, also too, it's tough because I'm playing backseat quarterback. COVID and the strike. If COVID never happened, we'd be farther along. We'd be looking at getting like Avengers in 2 years from now, you know, maybe even sooner, because that panel was after COVID. So that's the thing where I am playing in a world where, because of other circumstances, we've been delayed, but then you kind of have to pivot, right? So like I said, it's not a perfect analogy. It's not a perfect, just straight line of this was the issues, tons of issues. Same thing with the whole world, right? Like, how would all these other movies would have done in a non-COVID world? The streaming wouldn't have been accelerated. So, and the Thor 5 stuff, Taika, I can take or leave. I love Taika's work more so outside. I like What We Do in the Shadows. Love Jojo Rabbit. Just absolutely outstanding film. That's as easily his best one. Hunt for the Wilder People. I like Thor Love and Thunder. I like, what's the other one? Ragnarok. And like, I love some of the experience I had with the laughter, because sometimes, yeah, the humor is too much. They hurt themselves, and that's why it's middle of the road. But I get why people like have them in the tippy top, right? So if he comes back, it'd be interesting, because Thor, Hemsworth said he did want to do something different, which I like. Again, people just like, they're like, oh yeah, he hated Taika, or hated work with Taika, he's done. Even though all his other quotes like, yeah, we just had a really fun time making this movie, maybe too much fun. I think he just means in general, you got to always evolve, right? And maybe Taika would have that idea. I think that would be great if Taika came in and did it. It was more like Jojo Rabbit, where it's completely dark, and be like, shit, like Taika can do this, like with some humor sprinkled in. So if he comes back, I'm fine with it. Finish the trilogy. I've liked both his movies. I liked all his other movies. Great. I'd also be completely fine with New Blood, whoever it may be, whatever the tone is, I'd be fine to change it. Taika might be the safer choice, but if they feel, hey, we are wanting to get Thor in a different route, we don't want him to be so comic and jokey, maybe we should tone that down, then sure, get somebody else. Maybe Taika's just a producer on it. I don't know. So I'm kind of fine with that. Villain, who knows? Villain, like, I do feel I am with everybody, where if we have Hemsworth retire and never get Beta Ray Bill, that is a big mistake. That's such a fun character to do. So I'm for all of it, and it should happen. It's a profitable movie. Why it wouldn't happen is beyond me. So yeah, let's give me a second here, and I'm going to pull up a list of, let me go to first showing here. Or maybe I should just do that, because I don't know how far first showing goes. I think they just go to 2024. So I'm going to say upcoming or I'll just say Marvel movies, because we have a couple other ones to talk about, which I think is very interesting now when you have something like what happened with Blue Beetle, and we got a couple like these Sony ones coming out, right? So, okay. So pretty much my point is here. What's this article from where Rotten Tomatoes was June? Okay, should be enough. So I'm just going to go down now. So we've had Ant-Man Quantumania. Big opening weekend, big drop. Guardians comes out, does very well. Blow in the second one, but still does very well. You had all the DC movies, bomb. So that didn't go good. And then Sony, they've delayed all those movies this year, so we don't have anything. But you had Spider-Verse, did very well, right? So again, for people that say there's not a brand problem, it's funny that all the comic book movies doing very, very poorly are the DC ones. Huh, who would have thunk? Jeez. The Marvels. This is the one that it's very interesting to me as far as how this is going to do, right? So we'll go down the Marvel. We'll go down the Marvel ones. The Marvel. Fucking never liked the characters Captain Marvel. I digress. And just like how do I think it's going to do and what's in trouble, what's in not? Because Blue Beetle shows again this genre is not impervious. The Marvels, I agree with because I was talking on Twitter with someone named Richard Newby. He's a critic and he writes for like Hollywood Reporter stuff and I like his stuff. You should follow him. He's somebody that absolutely hates the Taika Thor stuff to a point that when those movies come out, I do got to mute because it's just like I can only take people tweeting about one thing so much. You know, it gets a little too much, and it's all with love. But I meet people all the time, and then a couple weeks later, I'm like, oh, I haven't heard from them. That storm's over. Let's unmute them, or I'll check their timeline and go, nope, let's not unmute them. But I agree where he said that, and this is the fork in the road for Marvel. This is a sequel to a billion-dollar film. This is a sequel that has multiple characters from WandaVision, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel. She was in Endgame, so this really is the fork in the road because I'm somebody that we had Quantumania disappoint, Black Adam, Shazam, Flash, Indiana Jones even because I just feel like the Disney family, and then Blue Beetle. For a while, I was like, for sure, this is going to be under 60. I just felt we were getting a lot of big movies that were under 60. I could see that. Once I saw that stat of those MCU versus DC movies opening weekends, I have walked it back a little bit, but I am still going to stick with it's going to be under 100 million. So I think I do think they should delay. I think Marvel and Chris on Marvel Alliance have said that, and I agree that I think you should punt it. For a number of reasons. I think the press tour, this is one that would help because I think those three together would be absolutely fantastic and would get more word of mouth seeing them together. Go, oh, I'd love to see that pairing. Let's do like imagine get them on Hot Ones all at the same time, like shit like that, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but still. It's going to have a massive drop. Dune's out the next week, and Dune's just building hype. I'm very curious what Dune's going to do, because Dune, same thing, was like, I think it's only 400 million in the COVID era, but that's where it's like, no HBO Max, not COVID era. I feel like I just always talk to people that love that movie, but maybe it does the same. Maybe it's just overblown my bubble, right? But still, I think no matter what, it has a drop. And then after that, I think there's like the Hunger Games prequel. I don't think the Marvels is set up in a position to win. I think it would open lower regardless. And then I think what's happening after Dune, Hunger Games, which I don't think will be massive and even open bigger than the other two, but still take a chunk, right? It's another female-driven, film. I don't know. I think it's something that they really should consider pushing back, especially next year with the strike. It looks like we might just have Captain America and Deadpool if we're lucky. So if they want to stick with the 3-film thing, do it then. Push it back then, So Marvel's, that to me is I'll say it is a toss-up, but I think it definitely is not a billion. And I think it could just make like, oh man. What could it do? Like I'm thinking total, because I could see it having like an 80 million opening weekend. International, that all depends. It's gonna get banned in some countries because there's probably gonna be a character that's gay. There's gonna be something with Miss Marvel where some country go, no, I can't have that. Because I've been saying that Aquaman's window is like 600 million, and I still think Aquaman could do better than this, but Marvel has like some word of mouth. I'm gonna say I'll stick with the 6. Let me just check what Ant-Man's Quantumania was here. Ant-Man Quantumania, just the final total here. 476. 1 second, I gotta lock the lady's car. Hang on, because I'll forget if I don't do it. I'm back. Okay. 476. Okay. I'm going to say anywhere exactly, Mike. That's what I'm thinking. 500 to 550. That off's again ask me if Dune moves or Hunger Games. That changes it all. Let's see here. So yeah, I'd say my barometer right now is in the at least 500 million, but I will say it won't open to 100 million. So that's what I'm sticking with right now. Next up for Marvel, like I said, not just Marvel MCU. Let's see. Let's see, but bad, but could go lower. Word of mouth is really bad. I agree with that. I think unfortunately the word of mouth is really good. That doesn't help it too much. I think it helps it like a 10, 15 million more, maybe. And maybe some word of mouth, like maybe like a Guardians Elemental where it holds better. But I think that we've seen that word of mouth doesn't like spring up a bunch of box office, right? It can. I think that happened with Barbie and Oppenheimer, but that was also an event. So I think you just have to at least have good word of mouth and go from there. I don't know why you're giving me. It just says, I guess it says all the upcoming Marvel projects. We're not going to go over the shows. So obviously there's no box office there. Let's see. Coven, yeah, Born Again, yeah, I think this might be an older one, so I'm just gonna go to this one first. It says Deadpool 3, but I feel like Captain America's, it must have been changed. But so yeah, Deadpool 3, I think that one's one of those safe ones. Now, of course, I would have said that about the Flash, right? Like, oh, there's no way the Flash would bomb. I've been wrong before. And this could be that situation too, where maybe we're really wrong. We go, man, this is not everything's foolproof. I will I will say that about this one, that I think this one is foolproof. I think that Deadpool is beloved. Hugh Jackman, you could argue, is the most, maybe next to Downey, the most beloved hero portrayal of a character. I think that does span more generations. With Michael Keaton, we saw that, hey, that generation may be phased out. People like my parents a lot said, oh, I'm going to go see it. When it came time to see it, they didn't see it, So that's the thing where Hugh Jackman goes from 2000, 2010 to 2020s, pretty much, like I guess it's 2017, but still there's so many people like my parents saw him, I saw him, my sister, and that's the thing where my sister didn't grow up, who's 7 years younger, didn't grow up with Keaton and has no affiliation with that Batman, right? Where this is something that I think could do that. Super Mike says 800 to 850 radar could prevent that. You never know, because I would have thought that with Oppenheimer, and that's 700 million. So to me, if Oppenheimer can make 700 million, I think this is MCU's best shot at $1 billion. And I will say it will make $1 billion. I do. I really do. I think Jackman and Gosling together, and that's one where obviously they have to film, but you think about the press tour for that one, that's going to be fucking fun. That's going to be like you don't want to miss it. That's one of those where, again, people ask me about Keaton, so I could be wrong, but the same thing did happen with Jack. And when he came back, I had people walk me like, oh my God, he's actually back. So I'm going to say right now, $1 billion, especially if they show off some of those cameos and teasers. I think that one's safe, but I think that would be safe if, like, even if the Avengers disappointed, I still think you put out Deadpool 3 and it does well. After that, we'll see, like a Deadpool 4, who knows, but I think that one's kind of safeguarded. Captain America and Brave New World, really don't know. Let's see. Did I say Gosling? Jackman and Gosling together. Wow. Deadpool recast. That'd be a fun joke, but they should get, I'd love to see Gosling and Jackman do something together. That'd be great. Brave New World. So I want to look, and it's not comparable anymore because of like what happened, with everything, right? But just curious, I wanted to see what Winter Soldier made back in the day. 714. I don't think it would make that. I think Deadpool 2 was only 780. I know, Mike, but I think Hugh Jackman does get you a bump. I know you might bring up Logan and go, oh, hey, that's not, but like that, to me, the fact that movie did so well for being early rated R and much more of just a drama. It's not like that feel good movie, and I feel like that's a movie that's over time. I know I'm biased because I love it, has gotten more stuff. So I get it. You're right with 780, but Joker's done it. Oppenheimer's hit 700 million. I think it could. I think with the Deadpool, the Jackman, the MCU at all, and also I think another thing that helps is we haven't gone Deadpool since 2018. So if this comes out next year, what is that? That's 6 years since a Deadpool movie. I think there is a sense of I've missed sometimes dead and again Reynolds in this character. So I know it's bold, but I think that one, and also again, ask me when the new schedule shake out. Let me see what else is around it. But I think that is a movie that will clear out other ones. So we'll see. I just think it's one of those, like, it's like, I know there's a lot more cases but look at Captain America I was just talking about, right? We're talking about Brave New World, Cap 1, Cap 2. When you get Iron Man, and the Civil War-ness, you made Captain America 3 into $1 billion movie. Now, of course, that was in the height of the MCU, but still, I think adding some characters can help. if Captain America Brave New World, of course, there's Harrison Ford, some Hulks there rumoredly. We'll see. I think that's more looking at like a 600. I think that's where I'm comfortable leaving that one at right now. And again, if a bunch of projects come out and you start to get that MCU hype again, and it will spread, people will get more excited. And if they start changing some release things, if they start not putting them on Disney Plus right away, it will spread. Again, I withhold my judgment to see what Brave New World is around, but I think 600 million, if Winter Soldier was 17, I think, or 717, I think 600 million is a respectable start. It's a new character, like it's a new actor playing the role, right? So I think that's like a reasonable maximum. And I have that as the max. It could go higher, but it's the max. Let's see. What would be next coming up here? Thunderbolts. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm very excited about Thunderbolts. I think the team aspect helps, but I think that one, and I'm going off of, again, what happens right now. If the MCU goes on a hot streak, has a lot of good projects, that all winning cures everything. And we could be maybe not back in 2019 era, but back in that 2016, 2017 Marvel where hit after hit, right? Jeez. Thunderbolts, eh? The most comfortable I have capping that is because I'm looking at these characters. Pugh is the driving force, right? It's Florence Pugh. She's the moment. She's everything right now, right? But other than that, Red Guardian, David Harbour, which helps, Stranger Things, Go, Sebastian Stan, Bucky Barnes, U.S. Agents, Ryan Russell, Taskmaster. Like, this is a movie that I think the MCU fans are going to really love. I feel comfortable putting this at 450 to 500. That's where I am. 500 being the max. Even that I have a hard time believing. If Ant-Man Quantumania didn't make 500 and that had like Kang and like the next chapter. So maybe I'll go with 450. I'll stick with 450 for now. So we'll see. Blade. I can't comment on Blade. Yeah, the GA's favorite fan favorite character, Taskmaster. Yeah, like when you look at the roster, there's not a lot of A-tier people on there. Even Yelena's not an A-tier character. Florence Pugh's just becoming A-tier. So 400 to 450, I like that keeps dropping, but somewhere in there, that's where I am. Blade, yeah, Superbad Mike, if it keeps that Christmas slot, yeah, you're right. Again, I still will always say, I guess I'm saying this now, it's not going to keep that slot because, again, we keep hearing, hey, if they don't get a deal done by Labor Day, a bunch of productions are going to shift. That's 2 weeks from now. They haven't talked to the actors at all. So I think that's definitely shifting. But as I said before, Superman Mike's completely right when he told me, I think it's like 2015, there's always been $1 billion movie in December except for 1 year. Still very impressive. And not counting the COVID years either. I think Aquaman will break that streak or join that club that it didn't. But you do have a good point. I just also think that it could be one of those things where when Aquaman came out, Bumblebee and Mary Poppins, everyone, and I think including myself, thought Aquaman's going to be the third in that equation, and it wasn't. I think it could be like that, where Thunderbolts comes out and there's like a Wonka type, something like that, and that could beat it. I really do think that Thunderbolts could fall to something, because I just don't think that's like a Christmassy movie, but neither was Aquaman. That was my main case. Like, why the fuck? This movie has beautiful people. They're looking hot. Momo is looking like, Yaya's looking, like, get this on the fucking beach months. Like My Job's Beach, that's Aquaman. But it worked in December. So that goes out the window. But still, I know you're saying that with December, but I'm going to say that's not going to hit December. So that's why I'm fine with saying 450 is the max as of right now as it stands, August 21st. Let's see here. Blade. The reason I can't comment on Blade is I don't even know if Mahershala Ali is going to be in this fucking thing. And that changes everything to me. I'm not saying Mahershala Ali is like bringing down the fucking bank and like, man, he's the biggest star in the world. No, but I think it just helps. I think it's one of these things that people would see it on paper. And it's always tough, right? When you do a recast and when you get that, like, I don't know if I could see that guy. No one says about Ali. The GA will sit back, I could see this guy being Blade. Mia Goth, that helps. I guess that doesn't help at all. But like, they have new writers on it. They're one of the guys that did True Detective. And the other reason I want to withhold judgment is we keep hearing rumors that this could end up being rated R. Even Feige said that it's not. Deadpool, I think, is going to be the test. And we've heard more and more rumors that and there's like Daredevil might be mature. And I think this is smart. The way when we're talking about, hey, I'm something that I don't think Blade needs to be or rated R. I think that's just a mindset that people that have watched the 90s movie and saw all these blood went, man, look at all this fucking blood. It can't be PG-13. No. It's the same way as fucking Carnage. And it's actually the same way with Deadpool. I am completely more in favor of, yes, give us rated R Deadpool Blade. But most of the time, these characters like a Deadpool, you're not seeing the nudity. You're not actually getting the cuss words. Like it's bleeped. It's something's objecting the view of it. He's not like a rated R character. He can be and he has been, but he's not. Same thing as Blade. Many times he's with the group. There are adventures where it's like hardcore vampire hunting, but really it is a comic book hero in a Marvel world that's a vampire hunter. The only one I'd say is that people I agree with when they write like Frank Castle. To me, that is a rated R character. That's where I go, there's way more examples of that. So I'm completely fine if it's PG-13. I don't think it would hurt it. Something like Werewolf by Night, again, it was on streaming, but still, I think you could do that. But if it's rated R, I think that does actually maybe help it. And that's where I just think that they could experiment with movies being, hey, if people aren't accepting more of the generic superhero fare, you say Blade's rated R, it's a horror movie, great. I still think you'd have characters like the way they burst into ash in the Avengers movies. You could do that with vampires. So this one I'll plead the fifth because I don't know the rating. Don't know if Ali's in it. This director could change. Even the writer could change. So I'll plead the fifth right now. Like if I would have guessed, I would have thought maybe like a 500 million. But I think the chances go lower the longer it takes. But give it a good release date in October maybe. Lower budget, definitely lower budget. And maybe if it is rated R, sure. So we'll see. I think that does help, but I don't think it's a make or break. I think that Blade can still be PG-13 and absolutely fine. To me, it's more about the betrayal and the character, and Ali can do that. It's just the writing portion, right? As Pub says, when Maxine hits 1 billion, Mia Goth will be a draw. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to blow up the doors off the box office. With Blade, it'll depend on the tone it's presented in the first trailers. I agree. I absolutely agree with that. Even if it's PG-13, it just has to feel a little bit different, So, F4, I think barring bad reviews, I don't care about the cast. I think 600 is the minimum. I know that's big to go. I don't know what the biggest F4 is movie. Maybe someone, please, if they're just looking around, tell me what the biggest F4 one is. I imagine it's the first one, the Tim Story one. But I just think that they will do everything in their power to make sure this is a big event movie, even though that's not exactly what I want. But they'll make you want to feel like you have to see the MCU's Fantastic Four, the first family, and it'll be promoted heavily. So I'm saying 600 million to just start right now. Ask me again when I see the whole cast. Ask me again when we get closer. And better reviews. I could bump that up to like a 700, 800. Like I think that could have a good, and it has to be good, I think too, of course. If it's generic and kind of mid and just all right, then I think 600 million is lucky. But I think I'm hoping that Feige and company will go, hey, let's do something different. Now, I don't love Homecoming. I think there's some things they did to shoot themselves in the foot. But I think what they did do is they made sure that it was quite a bit different and put lots of effort into it. If somebody even doesn't love it, I think they will do that with F4 with enough people. Spider-Man's different. Spider-Man, right? You get a lot of sway with that character. But, we'll see. Let's take an ad break and we'll finish off the Marvel list, do the DC list, and we'll talk about some DC rumors that are quite interesting. We'll be right back. And we're back. Thank you very much, Espos, man the chair. Oh, you scared me. You said F4. What? No. F4 in 2005 has a worldwide total of 154. There's no fucking way. Fantastic Four box office mojo. I trust you, but I have to see this for myself. Oh my God. What? 154, sequels 131, 56. Why did that get a sequel? What was the fucking budget? I know it was different because you had or you had DVDs and stuff in the day, but what the fuck was the budget? 100. No. I suppose I think you're wrong here. I think you're wrong. Because I just pulled up Wikipedia and I'm seeing 335 here, I think. Let me check the chat. You might have to correct yourself here. Okay, no, that's a nest. It's fine because Box Office Mojo sucks because it literally said when I put it up, it said total. It just said total. Like, let me go back and see. So I was like, man, it was 100 million budget. And they made 150. What were they doing here? Yeah. So this is the thing because look, Box Office Mojo is the fucking worst. That's why I just searched it to be quick on the cast. Brent's completely right. Use the numbers. Box Office Mojo before, I don't even know aspects, you might not be old enough before to know this. They had a whole different type of template for the website. A million times better, so much easier. But when you just search Fantastic Four Box Office Mojo, it says Fantastic Four Box Office Mojo. It says lifetime gross. It doesn't say domestic anywhere. I'm sure when you click on it, it'll probably say domestic, but terrible website, but it's fine. We recovered. It's all good. Yeah. So 330 to me is more respectable. Back then, 2005, I think MCU can double that. I really do. I have faith in them in that. So we'll see on that one. But that's my max right now, and that's fucking 3 years away, so I definitely could go up. Armor Wars, ugh. I don't mean in the movie. Well, actually I do, because fucking, as Scrody, as MA guys would say. I ask this question on Marvel Alliance, and Brent always brings this up with other projects, right? And there's never been an MCU project announced that's never happened. Even, what the fuck is those people, the shitty heroes that I don't like? The Inhumans, the X-Men replacements that, everyone's like, they're not my deal. Not my bag, baby. That became a show, right? So whatever you want to say, same the Armor Wars, right? It was a show, became became to a movie. Silver Surfer just over 300 million. Okay, that's not bad. It dropped, obviously, but, surprised they didn't maybe take a crack at another one. But I think back then it was just you do a sequel, and if it's under, okay, we're good, unless the budget's really low. But I agree with Brent's point that it's hard for me to imagine Feige, MCU, and the whole team being like, we did Armor Wars, but we announced it, but we're not going to do it anymore. You put a gun to my head, I still think it's going to happen, but I think this is one that I will say, if Marvel's comes out and really disappoints, if it does open like in that, when I talk about like a 60 or below, and it's rocking like a 300 to 400, similar to Quantumania, I don't think this happens. I really don't. Unless they make Armor Wars, it's the Rhodey movie, but it's more a Civil War movie where, okay, we're going to add Downey's AI voice. We're going to add, there's rumors of Ultron, right? We're going to add these three heroes, all these things. Because I don't think the idea of him being a Skrull and figuring out that story, I don't think that's going to sell anybody. And Justin Hammer will be great to have back, but I don't think he's like breaking down the box office either. So unless they pivot the same way Captain America 3 was not Civil War at one point, if they pivot, ask me again. But if this is just a movie about roads, I think you're lucky if you get to 400 million. I think my cap's almost more like 350. I just don't see people, especially with Secret Invasion, especially with that, caring about this story. Now, long ways away. The same way of Brave New World, it's not that people didn't care, but it's like, oh, the leader's coming back? MCU's always great at adding little things. They did that with Captain Marvel, right? Sam Jackson. Oh, Agent Coulson's back? Oh, Ronan's back? But they will add the fuck to this movie. They're gonna overstuff it, I think, just to make sure it plays well, unless it gets canceled. And I could see there's maybe a chance, right? Same thing, that's why I said about the Blade thing. I can't answer that because fucking Mahershala Ali could walk any day, in my opinion. So we'll see. Shang-Chi 2, not announced. That one, you'd have to ask me. I'd have to think more about that one because it's just, I know this is the topic, but because that came in the COVID era, it's so tough. I guess I can just say a blanket statement of like, I think 500 million. Sure. That's what I think, but who knows? The first one could have been well reviewed, but maybe people wouldn't have gone out to see it. It did a lot better than it was projected, but still, COVID, the numbers are all over the place. Spider-Man 4. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you had, like, is it a $1 billion movie? Because, yeah, No Way Home hit $1 billion. Almost 2, I think it was, right? But still, that had all 3 Spider-Man. But Far From Home did hit $1 billion. But after Endgame, the height, right? What's next for the MCU? Again, I'd have to wait. My heart, and I know, Chris and Brent are with me and other people are, my heart is that I want them to go back to basics and I want them to do the street level stuff. I want this idea of Kingpin with a rogue gallery versus him and Daredevil fuck yeah, let's go. But I'm with Brent where, because I think he said something like this on Marvel Alliance when him and Chris were talking about it. I was like, that's what I want, but is that the route you want to go after something so big in No Way Home? And I completely agree with that, where No Way Home has such a big scale. If it's just, and in my opinion, Sam, they always get an MCU character, right? I've said this before. Downey, A tier. Cumberbatch, A tier. Sam Jackson, because he's Sam Jackson to me, is A tier. I don't know if Nick Fury is, especially after Secret Invasion. Not many people came out, but still, I think I still put him in the A tier. Matt Murdock and Kingpin are in the A tier. As much as I love them, they're not. There could be other characters in there, and maybe that's where I take it back. But I think they're good B tier ones for if you're looking for ranking and popularity. So does two B tier ones equal up the A tier? I don't know. Maybe there's another MCU hero or villain in there. So if it's just a street level thing with those characters, I don't think I would see it being $1 billion. Definitely whatever Homecoming made. Somewhere around there, and then you'll get the people being like, oh, it made what Homecoming, it'll be like Guardians, right? Like, oh, it made that big disappointment, big drop. It's like, well, if it still makes like fucking 800 million, I think they'll be happy with it. They didn't have $1 billion movie for, they started making movies in 2012 and they didn't get one till 2019. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that one, again, kind of like Blade, I have to wait. If it's a street level thing, I'm more like a 800. If things change and get bigger, or there's someone we don't know about also from the MCU, then I could maybe go to the $1 billion, but that has to be, I gotta wait for more on that. Avengers King Dynasty and Secret Wars, those last ones that are out there right now. I'll just say at least $1 billion. That's what I'll go for both of them. I think of both $1 billion. I know some people say, like, oh, with all those Secret War heroes, you could get to $3 billion. I don't know about that, because I think the Endgame movie, it didn't make money just because it was a crossover. It didn't make money just because it was a Avengers movie. It didn't make money because it was just a good movie, in my opinion. It didn't make money just because the MCU was on fire. It made money because all those reasons combined. That's why. It was a perfect storm. And that's why I think you do Avengers film and it's good, that's a guaranteed $1 billion. Age of Ultron, lots of people put that like really low in the rankings. Still good, still $1 billion. I think if it's better, it has legs. And then I think if the MCU as a whole is better, it'll go. I think no matter what, they might have some stumbles, but they can recover. And let's say MCU is getting hot again. I think they can get hot. I don't think they can ever get as hot as the Endgame. I think that was, I won't say ever, I guess, but I would say in the next 10 years, because if there's a soft reboot, sure, then, but here we go. Sorry, Mike. I'll say the Multiverse Saga, I don't think will ever get as hot as the Infinity Saga. That's what I'll say. I think they've had too many stumbles. And I think there'll be some people that have been checked out, even though stuff could be big. Yes, if you get a poster with Toby beside Hugh Jackman, yeah, you're going to get a lot of people interested in that movie, So that's why I think it's automatically $1 billion, those two. And then Sony. So we got Beyond the Spider-Verse. I'm just going to say roughly the same, if not better. The only worry to me is that if it's like some people said maybe 2028, my worry is like my kids could age out of wanting to, not age out of wanting to see it, but just like that hype. Lots of things could change. So that's a TBD. I got to know the date on that one. I'll just say right now that it'll make close to the second one, if not better, but close to. We'll see. I think if it's like 2026, 25, then I think it has a chance of surpassing the third one, because that's like a good enough weight of hype. I know with Deadpool, I made that same comparison, right? Like, oh, Deadpool being gone longer helps them. That's different. The audience doesn't age out. Spider-Verse, kids grow up and might be like, I don't know, in those animated stuff, right? So, TBD. Venom. What did Venom end with? Venom. I know Venom. Let's see. Venom boxes. Venom. Got the Venom. Well, I'm searching up. Kraven and Madam Web will eat shit. They will be similar to Shazam and Blue Beetle, in my opinion. I think Kraven will open, and same thing as Morbius, right? That ate shit too. I think those are like that. I don't think. I don't think people are going to care about Kraven. I think that looks generic as well. We've seen that a bunch of times. 2000s. Let me see the Madam Web trailer. Maybe it'll do a little bit better, but I still think like a 40, 45, maybe a 50, but I don't even think then. I think you have people like Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney. That's good to have them together, but I don't think any of them are massive stars still yet. Of course, Sydney Sweeney has that Euphoria hype, but yeah, let's see here. Venom. Just give me shit. So Let's see here. Venom was 856. Craven at Superman Mike says Craven at 150 at best. Yeah, I'd take you at that. I would be 150 to 175. Yeah, I'd be like, because Morbius, I'll look at that too. Like Morbius box office, that didn't even get to 200, right? And that's where I think that'll do even worse than Morbius, because I just think Morbius, like, and that because that Craven's right on. I think that Craven one will hurt. Yeah, 167. Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I think 150-ish is around its barometer. As of this fight, he just starts adding AI down every project that disappoints. Yeah, we can add him to Secret Invasion season 2. I think Sony could try and make Madam Web their event movie. They could, but is it going to be that shit ass Bubs where they like try to make an event film and they put a bunch of stuff in the trailers, but then it's not really there? It's a bunch of archive footage. That's my worry of when the scooper is like, well, you'll see Spider-Man in it, but not the way you think. And it's like, oh, so you're telling me it's going to be like Spider-Verse, which was fine and across to see them that way, but it's, you can't market that. Right. So I agree, as Bubs, they could, but I don't think they will. I think that one has maybe a chance of being better because it has unique in this idea of rumor of protecting a young Peter Parker, which is funny if Venom 3 is also that plot. But I'll be nice and say 200 million for this. I think it could do better than Craven and Morbius, but I could also just see it doing the exact same thing. Okay, so Venom. Let's see. That made 856. Man, that first one was a fucking beast. And then I think the next one like 600 something, right? Ooh, 506. So it's interesting, much like Ant-Man Quantumania, right? Bigger opening, but then the drops happen a lot more. So, because it's funny, I thought, so you had Venom, and again, this was still in only if they get a Holland cameo. Yeah, they'd have to advertise it too. Just reuse footage of Morbius deleted scenes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Sydney Sweeney walking past graffiti of Toby's Spider-Man. Hey, that's what I mean, right? You can't really trust them. So that kind of changes my Venom. Venom did come out still, like, just as theaters were coming back to COVID. I'll say it'll be 550 again. I don't think it'll reach the heights of the first one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's lower, because I think people defended the first one. People still defend the second one, but I feel like they defend that one a lot harder, where the second one I bump into a lot of people like, yeah, that wasn't that great. I didn't enjoy my time there. So I could see it being below 500. I really could, especially that second one, only 506. But again, just coming off of COVID, theaters opening up. So that's what I think. Then let's go to upcoming DC movies. And I don't think I'm going to do a lot of the DC Chapter 1 slate yet, because maybe that could be a Patreon thing. But that's like, I don't even know who's doing Brave and the Bold, like playing Brave and the Bold. That changes everything, right? If they go and get fucking Josh Hartnett versus they go and get John Krasinski, that to me changes things. Just already, I'm not saying Krasinski brings in down the house, but there's a lot of things with that. Maybe Muschietti doesn't even fucking end up directing it. Same thing with Swamp Thing. For me, I legitimately have to see how Legacy does. And that's what I'll talk about Legacy. But that will be my barometer, because I'm not going to talk about Swamp Thing when there's a chance it doesn't even happen. Not yet. You know, like Armor Wars is the only movie I feel like might not happen, that I'm pretty confident it will. That slate could get fucking rocked. You get Superman Legacy, and it's over for you, James Gunn. Fucking Warner Bros. Could be sold. Zaslav could be fired, and they go, James Gunn, we don't want to do this. We don't want to do universes anymore, right? All it takes is for Legacy to bomb, and they go, I would like it if it wasn't that. If it doesn't do well or underperforms, they go, okay, well, let's stick with it and keep going forward, you know? Same way as when Incredible Hulk bombed, they go, okay, let's give up. Let's change route. They know, let's just keep doing movies. Of course, they make adjustments, but you don't just fully pull out. You know, unless you need to. But I can't comment on that. So I'm going to talk about the 4 that we have here, right? So Aquaman, I think I'm in this, I said that already earlier, 600 million range. That's where I am. I know Mike has that math. I don't see it hitting $1 billion. You never know, though, because I didn't see the first one. I just don't think the hype's going to be there as much. But and I think November is pretty hot and heavy if Marvel's and Dune stays there. Markets change, we'll see. 2018 again, that's a long time for that movie, but maybe it helped. I don't know. So I'm going to stick with that to be conservative. Maybe you could talk me up to 650. Who knows? Joker 2 or Joker Folie à Deux. Not going to be $1 billion, I don't think. You never know, but I don't think it'll be $1 billion. And I think people will look at them and be like, oh, the sequel, disappointed. They make this shit for fucking... No, I won't say for pennies, because Gaga, Phillips, and Phoenix got paid. We heard those rumors of like the 20 million and whatever they were, right? They were getting that fucking MCU Downey money. So I'm sure the budget now, when it was like because what was Joker 1 budget? I think it was like only 100 million, right? Joker budget. That was no. Well, who knows? Because it says 55 to 70 and 150. So maybe 150. How much did it cost to make Joker? Low production. Okay, production budget of 620. It sounds like what was it? Okay, player. Who knows? But it sounds like even if it was 150, that's the lower side. So Red Mike, you're going 800 for Aquaman 2. Okay. 150. I would say the production budget could be 150 now. Like that budget. I think that's all of it together. I think that's the marketing. Like it's a rough. We never get to know the exact ones, right? But I think that's a rough one. Or sorry, the marketing and then the production put together. So I could see this one being, with all said and done, maybe a 200 million. I think that this is not going to have trouble. It's going to crack all those other ones. I think that, let's see, going to depend on people how it being a musical. I don't think so. I think that works in its favor. I really do. I think with Gaga, if it wasn't Gaga, maybe, but I think with Gaga doing it and it being a musical, I think people are going to get in there. I could alienate some people, sure, but I here's my thing. I think that Joker 2, the non-musical, and Joker 2, the musical, I think the musical one does better. I think they both do lower than the first one, but I could see Joker 2, the musical, doing around 800, and I could see Joker 2, non-musical, doing 700. That's where my ballpark is. And as I've said this before, even if they make it for 200 million and it only makes 500 million, that's a profit. It was worth it. For everybody saying that, oh, fucking Joker 2, that idea, it's not going to do as good as first. Yeah, maybe not, but it's like the Thor thing. Why not try? And I think with these budgets still being relatively lower than a lot of other 300, 250 budgets, Joker 2 will make its money back. So I have no worries. As far as Make 2 is currently at 316 worldwide. Audience are craving the ocean. That being said, Aquaman 2 probably costs like 400 million. That's true too, right? The budget's crazy for that one. So, but I think Joker 2, I think barometer for me is 700 million. I really do. Because I think any people that, it might alienate some people, the musical aspect, but I think those are also people that might have just not gone and see it because like, I don't need a Joker 2, or I'll catch it at home or whatever reason. But I think Joker has an aura around it. It's fucking $1 billion radar movie, right? It's the only one to do that. Biggest radar movie all time. So I believe I'm right on that one. So yeah, I think it's got it. It's going to be successful. The Batman Part 2, all I'll say is it'll make more than the first. I think, of course, I mean, people that don't like it and stuff like that, more in our bubble go, oh, it's a bit slower. But I think just judging off, like, people use the Spider-Verse method. I'll use that in Canada. It came to Netflix. And that thing was trending #1 for like weeks, like at the top movie there. I think people talk about with Crave for us, like every app I see, it's always doing very well. I think people talk about it. I think I knew a lot of people that still didn't see it that were really excited to see it. And I think when they see that one, of course, some people might not like it, but so I'll just say 800 million. And who knows? Because you look at the fucking Dark Knight, I'm not saying had that jump. Batman Begins made like 400, 500 million, and then fucking it like doubled the Dark Knight. So I think there's a chance at least at 800 million. I think the hype will be there. Again, also ask me when we get the villain and the casting, which we might talk about, but I think that I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to do quite well. So better than, like I said, better than the Batman. So you got that going for it. Ask me again when it's closer. And then Superman Legacy is the one we'll end off here, and then we'll get in some DC rumors. It's so tough. That one's so tough, right? I know it's not even comparable. I just want to see what the first Guardians made. Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's go. Just box office for the first one. I know it's not comparable at all, but I just a curiosity. To me, 773 million. Fuck. God, I think I'll do, Superman Mike says, I think I'll do about the same depending on the villain. I agree. Whenever they pull the Joker level, that will be, I think that I could see being $1 billion. If it's the second one or the third, even with them being a little bit, and some people maybe like iffy on the look, Joker versus Batman, that fucking sells. And I think Barry Keoghan will do a great job. I think people will be interested when they see those previews, like, oh, what's going on? And as I've said before, not counting Snyder Cut Justly because it didn't happen theatrically, I know it has, but we have not gotten a Batman versus Joker showdown since 2008. That's a long, by the time the Batman 2 comes out, it's going to be close to 20 years. That hasn't been done that much. They've always been around. I'm not talking about other media. I'm saying live action. I think that will do gangbusters whenever they do Joker Batman. So if he's the villain, then I can see it being a billion. If not, we'll talk. Superman Legacy, I really don't know. And I'm not going to plead the fifth. It is far away and anything can change. More casting. But yeah, I suppose I think you caught me. I think I did say live action eventually, right? I did say live action, so that I'll stick to that. Legacy, it's the two things. It's all about the budget and what they price it for. Because if they price it good enough and it just makes, don't go crazy, then okay. You think that's what I was gonna talk about, Mike. We'll do Man of Steel numbers, and that's like 600 something, right? I think Man of Steel box office. Fucking Man of Steel comes up. Like I search Man of Steel and the fucking pictures of Justice League. I don't know why. Okay, Man of Steel box office 668. Yeah, because I was gonna say 600. I was, and obviously at this point, that's 2 years from now. Probably 3 if the strike continues. We could be back in the superhero boom, or we could be in a situation where superhero films are like it's even more hurt. Like let's say Marvel's bombs and Captain America doesn't do well. Maybe people are right. Joker 2 disappoints. The Batman 2 disappoints. So I have big time to reserve my judgment. I'll just say 600 for now. I'll say it won't beat Man of Steel, and that'll be a big talking point with everybody. Like, oh, you have this new director, but it didn't beat Man of Steel, and then people are like, oh, well, it's a new era. I'll say 600 for now. Like I said, that one got to be closer, but I have confidence that James Gunn will make a film that people want to see. I really do. I have faith. I know people throw Suicide Squad, but I think that has so many reasons against it. COVID, radar, shitty first movie that turned people off. I think the build up, and the good thing is, I think it's a great thing. Justice League 2017 happened. Bomb. A year and a month later, Aquaman comes out. No other DC projects comes out, makes $1 billion. You have a bomb, the next $1 billion. I think it's great that you got to get through Aquaman, but if you just have Joker, Batman, and then Legacy, 2 films, maybe Aquaman, sure, 3 films in front of it, I think you'll have some space. People get some DC breather, and I think people will be excited to see a new Superman, a new take, and I think they will. Right now, they're doing this fucking dance of Blue Beetle's the DCU character, and this is not the first movie, but it's not the first chapter, but he's the character. I think they'll hit hard. You'll get new opening animatics, stuff like that. I think they will really stress this as the start of something brand new, and they have to. They really have to. If James Gunn is still around there when it happens. So, yes, I'm saying 600. I think it could easily go up, but ask me 2025, August 21st. See, maybe the movie's out by then. If it sticks to its date, it would be out by then, but we'll see. Yeah, let's take another ad break, and then we'll finish off with these DC rumors. We'll be right back. And we are back. So, just 2 rumors here, both Batman related. I'll go to the very top one. I think someone said no as John Krasinski as Batman. So, to clear the air, because people talked about this, there's a guy who runs the Batman on Film website. He's gotten scoops right before. All he did was post a picture of John Krasinski, and Twitter does its thing and goes wild, right? He didn't insinuate that he was in the Batman. He didn't insinuate that he's brave and bold, all this stuff. He didn't insinuate any of that jazz, but that's what people ran with he could be Batman. What I'll say is I feel bad, because I feel like it's the Nicholas Hoult thing, where Nicholas Hoult was up for Batman. I went, nah, I don't like that. And then he's up for Superman. I went, nah, I don't like that either. And that's the way I feel with with John Krasinski. Holt, at least, unfortunately for him, I felt no on both of them. Like a hard no. Like I don't think either of these are good roles. Krasinski as Reed, I at least go, okay, I think there's a little something there. And that one's definitely the preference, where, Holt went no for both. That would be the preference, gun to the head. I still don't like him for Reed, and I don't like him for Batman. And again, I don't care too much, and maybe I will care if I watch The Legacy and love this universe. I'll care about this world. And of course I do care. It's always Batman, and it's the Bat family, so I do care. But why I'm less peeved about it is, I've said before, unless the Batman Part 2 and Part 3 get canceled, I have a Batman that I love with Robert Pattinson, and he could end up eclipsing Bale at some point, given 2 and 3. Let's see his whole run, right? So that's the same way when I got Joaquin Phoenix as Joker. I'm like, hey, you could bring back Jared Leto, do whatever the fuck you want. I got this movie. I'm good for some years right now. So I don't think Krasinski would be great. I don't know how he'd be as a Batman. I don't know how his Bruce Wayne would be. I don't really see that. But I won't say Krasinski's a bad actor. I just feel like I've heard these rumors and they haven't fit with what I think he could do. But all it takes is one role to change my mind. And I'll never write him off. As long as they're a good actor, I'll say, okay, let's see what they can do. So if he was cast, I'd go, okay, not a choice of mine, not a fan, not really appealing to me, but let's see what he can do. You know, he's a great talent. He works good with children. So Damien's in the movie. I just don't believe this as far as he's going to sign on some franchise for 10 years when he wants to direct his films, unless they're killing Batman and Brave and Bold and they're doing the Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne story. Fine. But I don't think so. So Krasinski, no. And then Maddie, who, you can go to Patreon and ask these questions. He had asked, was there any, and this was tough because he asked, was there any villains you could see Krasinski playing? Let me make sure I get the full comment here from you, Maddie. Is there any Batman villain you could picture Krasinski playing as? Not really. Funny enough, I could picture him more in Reeves' world. I guess you could do in Brave and Bold, but I think with like Quiet Place, and I've heard with Jack Ryan, I feel like he could show a darker edge, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, that could be Batman." Again, I just come back to the genre thing. Like, does he want to do that? I suppose I'd be curious what his Batman voice is. Absolutely, that'd be fun. I'd be interested to see what he could do, and I think it could take me out. But I just mean in the sense that I feel that I don't know the darkness that he has or has portrayed how it would go for Bruce/Batman. There's something about him as Harvey Dent, though, is what I think what I'd lean to. If you were to tell me, hey, it's like the whole thing is him as Lex Luthor, Krasinski's going to be in the Batman, and he's going to be Harvey Dent. And I'd be like, you know what? That's the type of darkness I could see. The very lovable candidate to like the psychotic, like, Rachel, Dark Knight like that. I could see him as Two-Face. I could have saw him as a Riddler, but I don't think Brave and Bold will do that. I don't think, obviously he's not going to be Ra's al Ghul. Not going to be Penguin because I don't think Brave and Bold will copy. Don't think he'd be Mr. Freeze. Don't think he'd be Scarface. I don't think he'd be Black Mass. I don't think he'd be maybe Kurt Langstrom because he could be Man-Bad and then you just CGI him away. That's fine because he can be in Scientist. But something about Dent, I could really see him being a great Harvey Dent. And some people say, because he's older, that's why Brave and the Bold. That could work. Super Mike says he could do Freeze. I just don't see Freeze. I really don't. I feel John Krasinski in the Freeze suit, it could look funny. It could look a little memey at times. I don't know why. It's just Jim and Mr. Freeze, and maybe it'll take me out of it. So, but I see Freeze more than Batman. So I'll give you that. I see him being Victor Fries or Freeze, however you want to pronounce it, Fries, yeah, more than the Mr. Freeze role. But who knows? But I think Two-Face is where I'm at. Two-Face, I think, would be a really good pairing for him. So that's a rumor going around that I think is absolutely 100% not true. So we'll see. And then finally, so Blue Beetle, the press has been happening or was happening. The director's the only one that can talk about it, which that all sucks. Feel bad for the people that are in it, of course. Hopefully the strike ends soon on all accounts. And he said he had originally pitched or was talking to DC. He didn't talk about how far the talks got, but about doing something centered around Bane. And then he said, but he's already tied up, like I'm paraphrasing, but he's already tied up or there's plans for him in the Matt Reeves Batman universe. So that was a null point. Now, this was a interview done like in his native tongue in Spanish. So there could have been some of the translation that was, mixed or whatever, but still very interesting to say. Now, could he just be misspeaking and he's just thinking that, hey, there's Brave and the Bold, maybe Bane's over there. Batman, he's directed Batman. Maybe. I don't take it. Like, the guy seems smart enough, but it happens all the time where people go, oh, no, I didn't mean it that way. Just, look, when I said Ryan Gosling, right? When I said Hugh Jackman, Ryan Gosling. No way do I think that why he would be Deadpool, but it just happened because similar names, right? Maybe you just see Batman, Matt Reeves, similar sentences. You see them all the time, and you just mixed up. So push that aside. Let's say this is the truth, that he wanted to use Bane, and they said, no, we got plans. Matt Reeves got plans for him. And this will go in my question because Maddie kind of asked what I want to talk about here. But you said What kind of interpretation or spin could you see Matt Reeves putting Bane on to make it feel like a fresh, new/fresh take on the character? Oh, excuse me. It all depends. The big $1 million question, maybe $1 billion question on Matt Reeves' universe is: are we gonna get super world not Elseworld, super worldly, fantastical comic booky stuff, real comic booky stuff, like a guy turning into a brat. Hey, Batman, fuck you. No, like a bat, Mr. Freeze, Killer Croc, and not those guys have skin disease, like an actual fucking man looks like an alligator, right? I've said I'm fine if they want to do, hey, we're doing Killer Croc and it's just a man with skin disease who's big. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Bane like the mercenary, and that's the take I think you would get. And I don't know if that's the route to go, because I think that is, of course, in Nolan's it's a lot different. There's the Fire Rises, the League of Shadows, all this stuff, right? And it's a whole takeover of Gotham. I don't think you'd get that. I think you'd get the mercenary, a crime boss running Gotham, up for the power, right? Because there's a power vacuum going to be in the Batman 2, we can assume. I think if you just do that, it could end up being familiar to Nolan's, but at the same time, I've said this before, with Ledger, once that happened, most of the time in live action, other than Leto, and the tattoos made him look ugly himself, but the idea has been, hey, let's make these Jokers look, the paint, really ugly, really deformed, very scary, right? So maybe that's the thing where, hey, Nolan did that, and Bane for the next little while will be looked at. He's going to be a mercenary that's just very big and very dangerous. So I think if he does that, character-wise, he has a whole different spin, different mask, different voice, all that stuff. You have different motivations. Maybe the main boss of a movie or a story, he's working with Talia al Ghul and then he gets killed and he's not the main conflict at the end. Something like that. If it's fantastical, whole different ball game. And that's where I agree with many people that it looks like it. I don't think it is. But if they want to get fantastical, I'm great. I'd love it if you got this horror, very slower, quieter, darker world. And Nolan's is dark, but this is a more scary serial killer dark, right? And you're gonna fight a man like Bane who can grow, or Man-Bat, or Clayface, as we've heard rumored, that is a puddle of clay sometimes. Absolutely, go for it. That to me is the most Batman thing, where Batman's nice and dark and he got those things going on, like a Long Halloween or a Killing Joke, where it's just a man with paint, but still it's he's gone through the chemicals and he's a fucking crazy clown, or all of Scott Snyder's runs with Night of Owls and everything. You can have the light stuff in there and animated series, of course, but I'm saying I love that aesthetic with the fantastical things. So in that world, I subscribe to the theory that I don't think it is, but that idea of in the Batman, Maddie, you'll appreciate this, because I think you've probably seen the Batman more times than me. We'd have to talk, because I feel like when I first got it, I watched it a bunch. I was going to actually be watching it this week. I still think the plan is, because I watched Dark Knight Rises. It's okay, I want to watch the Batman now, but Gwen's sick. She's going to be home tomorrow. But then I started watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies because of the game. So in the next week or two, I'm going to be watching it. And I know I'll watch again for October. So I know I got a couple more. But you'll know that in the scene, when he's in the rafters, when he gets shot, and he hits himself with that green adrenaline, right? And some people have that theory of what if it's not that? What if it's Venom? Or what if it's an adrenaline steroid that's called Venom? Where, of course, it's not going to get Bane but it's something like that, like it's a drug and he used it. And you could even do, you could do fucking Batman Venom, where Batman, he starts taking the Venom Titan toxin, and it starts like he gets addicted to it. And Matt, you should definitely read the story if you're interested. I'd love to for comic version of the time. But it's could you not see fucking Robert Pattinson playing a Batman who has an addiction problem? He would fucking just chew that right up. Imagine the scenes with him and Alfred, him and Selina, fuck, man, that'd be great. Imagine that's when he does reveal himself as Bruce, but then he gets more fucked up, and that's why they break up, because he's just hopped up on the Venom. I could see, again, don't make Batman fucking jacked, but this idea that because the pain, because the nights he has this drug, and you're going up against the other guy who's selling the drug, similar like what they did in The Boys season 3 with the Project V or whatnot. That fucking that's what I want now. Pattinson getting fucking hooked on Venom. Oh, that's juicy, ladies and gentlemen. That's juicy. So that's the take I want. That's the take where that's fine if it's just a drug, but it's a believe it or see it, because maybe he misspoke. Maybe it's a real thing. I don't know. I'm down for it, because right now we've heard What are the rumors? I know we've heard Two-Face, we've heard Hush, we've heard Clayface, and we've heard now Bane. And Bane's not even a rumor. That's just, hey, someone said it. So Bane could be out. Clayface, there is versions of realistic. Two-Face, that can be realistic. And Hush can be realistic. So they're all characters that there's nobody yet that I've heard that, well, man, like even Killer Croc, like I said, there's books like Joker by Brian Azzarello, like, oh, he's just got the skin disease. If they ever announce, hey, fucking Man-Bat's in this, then you know, okay, we're in a fantastical world. But these characters that have been rumored, like I said, Two-Face, Hush, Clayface, and Bane, you can all do realistic takes on them. So past in getting Hugh Jackman jacked and getting Hugh Jackman the Wolverine jacked for the Venom scenes, that'd be fucking great. Yeah, go out. Tell him you got to work out really hard. Film at different times when he's a little skinnier, and then film the suit stuff. I don't know how they could do that. Just tell him not to work out for a bit. Probably hurt his body, but hey, Bale did it right, all for the Batman role. But that's what I would like. The likelihood of it, I don't know, because we've also heard rumors that there's just going to be maybe some shows that are barely tied to Batman and then might tie in later. So maybe there's a Bane show. I don't know. So I'd like the idea, but I'd need to see the pitch because, of course, you're going to do Joker again and Bane. So you'll get people to be like, oh, well, you had the one movie that wasn't like Nolan, but now you had Joker and Bane just like it. So we'll see. But yes, thank you very much for tuning in to Trash Told You. I'll definitely be doing one next week because next week I got some vacation. I was supposed to go camping, but with our fires, one's in the area and still it's just kind of like it might be a bit too smoky. So there'll definitely be at least one Trash Told You, maybe even two, but definitely there'll be one. I might be one about wrestling coming up because we've got that big event coming up on the Sunday. So we will see. Thank you everyone for live chat. Lots of you in there. Lots of fun conversations as always. Appreciate you, Maddie, sending the questions. Appreciate everyone, whether you watch, listen, or after the replay. We thank you all the time for supporting us. Everyone have a good night. I'll see you next for tomorrow with Gamescom and for Ahsoka episode 1 and 2. It's going to be fun and it won't be boring.